On the other, 9-2 versus 8-1-2. Haven't seen that record in a little while in an event. But both players still very much in top 8 contention, and they will begin round at number 12 here with a polluted Delta from Aintrazi. For Keaveny, he's got a shambling Ven. Aintrazi will sacrifice a Delta. We'll see what land he does want to search up here for his 5-color control deck. He's going to go with just a basic island. Wants to get those basics out there on the battlefield so he can turn on his battle land mana base.
And some interesting stuff going on in Aintrazi's deck. Several copies of Draconic Roar, not a card you would typically associate with control decks, but Ali playing with some dragons. And on top of that, there's a lot of desire for an instant speed 3 damage spell because of the prevalence of Manus Rider. And sometimes you can't be too picky. No lightning strikes, and so this is the next best option.
A Jace here for Aintrazi on turn number 2. Keaveny will draw a card. Deathmist Raptor, Abzan Charm, Siege Rhino. Quite a few things in hand here. And even though he is splashing black for a little bit more removal in Murderous Cut and Abzan Charm, these Megamorph decks, no matter what colors they are, have some difficulty with getting Jace off the battlefield.
They do not have a lot of clean removal for it. And we've seen decks even go to something like Reeve's Soul just to shore up the liability to Jace. Keaveny with no such removal in his deck, 4 copies of Abzan Charm, 3 Dromoka's Command, 2 Murderous Cut. So his deck is not very well equipped to remove Jace, especially when he's on the draw.
Jace will discard a Plains. Lumbering Falls the land, pass the turn back. Murderous Cut appears to be the draw here for Joseph. And there is a Wooded Foothills. It'll be a basic forest.
And you can already see some of the sequencing, how complicated this format is to play. Last turn, Keaveny decided to play a forest instead of one of his fetch lands. Not to say this is necessarily a mistake, but had he played a fetch land last turn and then fetch land this turn, he could have played Murderous Cut on the Jace this turn. So the sequencing of lands, a big challenge in playing these decks.
Another Jace activation here from Aintrazi. In his first main phase, he'll discard a polluted Delta. There's a polluted Delta as far as land is concerned. And now we're going to go back Keaveny's way. Siege Rhino the draw. A couple of Rhinos over there, Abzan Charm. Looks like a Nissa too. I mean, power level of the deck is pretty gosh darn high. We know that. Here comes Deathmist Raptor.
And I think with the quality of hand that Keaveny has right now, he's very likely just to tap out, cast a Siege Rhino this turn, maybe cast a Siege Rhino next turn, and try to use the Murderous Cut as a 1-mana spell somewhere down the line.
In search of a copy of Canopy Vista. You know, the big question here is just how much does he even care about Jace? He might be fine with just ignoring and saving a Murderous Cut for a large threat like Dragonlord Dromoka.
That is an option. Also, Aintrazi has not played a spell yet.
Yeah.
So, at least on the face of it, no big rush.
Well, that answers that question. Got to cast Murderous Cut on Jace. I'll take care of the powerful blue card. Looks like Aintrazi has another copy in hand, however. And now he'll sacrifice that polluted Delta. See what land he wants to search up. He'll go with a Prairie Stream.
I wonder if that play was out of some respect for a counter spell out of Aintrazi's deck.
Something like maybe an Oshai's Command, if he thinks that that's in there.
Yeah. Well, Oshai's Command is not exactly a justification because Aintrazi can simply draw a card and get the Jace back.
Very true.
But there could be some other counter spell that he's trying to play around here. Horribly awry, perhaps.
Cinderglade. And now Radiant Flames will take care of the Deathmist Raptor. The follow-up is a Jace, pass the turn back. All 5 colors of mana here for Aintrazi. Wingmate Rock the draw here for Keaveny. Looks like he might be going the Nissa route here. Wants to ensure he hits a land. So there's his Magic Origins flip Planeswalker. Basic Forest on the way. That will likely be his land for the turn. One thing we've learned about Abzan over the years, it's a deck that would like to play 2 spells per turn if it can. That's when it starts to become really powerful. You can see just how the spells are lining up here for Joseph right now. 2 Siege Rhinos, a Wingmate Rock, and an Abzan Charm. He needs at least 7 mana to be able to cast 2 spells in 1 turn.
And that was the reason I was not a big fan of the Murderous Cut play there on the 4th turn of the game, because Murderous Cut, from what I could see, was his only hope of getting to 2 spells in 1 turn at some point. The rest of his hand is very chunky, and he's likely to just be casting 1 spell a turn for a very long time. Tough spot to be in against Aintrazi's deck, which is just a lot more powerful.
There's Dragonlord Jamoka. And this has been Ali's top end both last weekend and this weekend. 2 main deck copies of Jamoka in his 5-color control deck. He's been really leaning towards the Dragonlords as finishers for these opening weeks of Battle for Zendikar Standard. Fortunately for Joe, an answer at the ready there, an Abzan Charm.
10 Protector, the draw for the turn, also excellent here.
Wants to take a look at Dragonlord Jamoka, make sure he knows exactly what it does. But yeah, that thing's worth exiling. Get it out of here. No attacks we had, and Nissa was shrunk via Jace. So now we go back on Aintrazi's way. Here's an Abzan Charm.
Really important for Aintrazi here. He needs to find a proactive spell for him to flash back. Right now, just sitting on Radiant Flames, which Keaveny can play around pretty easily right now. His hand is nothing but large creatures.
And Jace is going to go up to 7. That'll slow down Nissa. And now here's a Hangerback Walker. Battler on the battlefield with 2 counters, and now we'll head back Joseph's way. Joseph looking for land number 6, I have to imagine here. He didn't find it. He's got himself a Warden of the First Tree instead.
So if you're wondering why this deck misses Corsair Kruphix so much, it's games like this.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you would slowly but surely get to your 6th and your 7th and your 8th land.
You can see why he misses Temples too. Just the smoothing.
Same deal.
And it's not there right now. Nissa is attacking. It's got 0 power, it's dying, but this is here just so that he can raid Wingmate Rock. He'll get a 3/4 rock along with it. No 6th land to play, as we've mentioned, but 2 3/4s out there, pretty important. Can't kill those with Radiant Flames. Can Abzan Charm 1, but probably don't mind that if you're Joe. Now we head back over to Aintrazi. Draconic Roar, the draw here for Ali.
So now Aintrazi is at the fork in the road. He can basically expend all of his resources killing the rocks here by flashing back Abzan Charm and playing his 2 copies of Draconic Roar. Or he can try to draw cards and eventually overpower the Wingmate Rock.
2 damage is going to be dealt here by Hangerback Walker. Ali has a decent chunk of red mana, but he's only got 2 red mana, not 3. So no double Draconic Roar. He can't play 3 red spells this turn, basically.
But I believe he has the mana to cast Abzan Charm and 2 Draconic Roars.
That will work okay.
He's got 2 mountains and he has to have Abzan mana, so.
Well, you would hope as much, given how many battle lands are out there. So here's Abzan Charm. But one thing you just have to keep in mind is look how many resources he has to expend to get Wingmate Rock and the Rock token off the battlefield.
Yeah, this is, I'm not sure what line to play I would have taken. It's very close between doing this, was essentially committing yourself to answering the Wingmate Rock, or just using Abzan Charm to draw cards and hope to just find enough other stuff to do where Wingmate Rock is just not powerful enough. With Aintrazi at 13, I definitely buy trying to err on the side of caution here and just keep the board managed.
Wooded Foothills is a land that'll be sacrificed. And there is a Sunken Hollow. And unfortunately for Joseph, that's not a land he can search for, so he's going to have to get a Smoldering Marsh instead.
No harm, no foul, but... Good rule of thumb here is that your fetch lands can never search for a color of mana produced by their mutual enemy in this format.
Green, mutual enemy, blue. Red?
Green and red's mutual enemy is blue.
Blue, yeah.
Cannot get blue.
Yep.
Cannot get an island. Can't get blue dual lands.
There you go.
Little shortcut for you. You can look on the back of the Magic cards for help if you don't know which colors are allied to which.
Ah, yes, the cheat code.
Yeah, it's there for you.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are further away.
That's how. That's so helpful you are.
I don't know.
Den Protector going to be played face down here.
You know, Magic's a complicated game.
It's very tough sometimes. So there's your Morph. Deathness Raptor in the graveyard. Looking to be coming back relatively soon.
Although this is some rough tapping here from Keaveny. Usually you just err on the side of tapping your basics. But with Warden as his leftover and a Den Protector, he now has to choose between casting the Warden and exposing the Den Protector to a removal spell or not casting the Warden. So I think in this spot, Keaveny needed to leave himself with 2 green mana available to do everything he needs to do with 6 mana.
Looks like he's going to un-Megamorph right now. Deathness Raptor coming back. Murderous Cut going to be returned.
Now, if Keaveny just wants to use Murderous Cut instead, all is well and good.
Agreed. Going to delve away the graveyard. And he's going to take care of Jace. Does not want that out there. And he's not too worried about the Jace that's currently on the battlefield. Just got 1 counter.
Yep.
It's not really doing all that much.
Reasonable that Aintrazi would just untap and lose the initial Jace.
Yeah. Draconic Roar is going to take care of Den Protector. It's funny, Keaveny has just not ever had the opportunity to just fire off some Siege Rhinos here.
He's had better stuff to do with his mana.
He really has. He's just been doing other things, getting things set up with Nissa and Den Protector and Deathmish Raptor and these removal spells, and he's just got these Siege Rhinos in the holster. Jay's going to tick up, slow down the rock. Aintrazi going to play his Flooded Strand. Last card has Draconic Roar. Can't forget, in those lands, there's Lumbering Falls. Keaveny will attack here with the Rock token. It's going to bring Jace back down to 1. Follow up to Warden. Two Rhinos, and it looks like an Abzan Charm in hand. His Hangerback Walker is going to grow. And while it's at 3, looks like Joseph may have some interest in a little Abzan Charm action. Just wants to make sure he taps all of his mana correctly while still being able to activate Warden of the first tree. And it looks like he has done as much. Ollie's going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand in the meantime. Get a land out of his deck. And we'll take a look at Draconic Roar. Because I think Ollie might be thinking, hey, I might want to kill my own Hangerback Walker here. And you can target your own creatures with it.
Yeah, it references controller of creature. So you can't Draconic Roar your own creature and deal 3 to the opponent.
Yeah.
But you can kill your own creature.
Yep, and he may have some interest in that. Might want. It's better than getting nothing, I guess one could argue.
Yeah, I think that 3 Thopters at this point, it's close. I don't know if that's better than killing the Warden. But if Aintrazi is playing towards a sweeper of some sort here, he may just want to buy as much time as possible. This play makes a lot of sense to me if Aintrazi's in a position now where he feels like I can't really win the game unless I draw Ugin, and I want to give myself as much time as possible to find it.
Ollie will draw.
I suppose in the short term, he doesn't care that much about the Warden as he can trade off his Lumbering Falls with it should Joseph attack.
And Jace is moving up to 2. We'll see what it wants to target. It's going to go with the Rock token again. And here's Canopy Sifter. So now Aintrazi Scion will join that. And here with Catacomb Sifter, excuse me. Whenever another creature dies that you control, you get to scry 1.
And this is not a bad draw here with someone trying to play towards Ugin. It's a lot of scries if he's chump blocking. It's also a colorless card. You know this because the text box informs you of that, which is nice. If he does draw the Ugin, it'll stay around.
Correct. A lot of his stuff will stay around if he draws the Ugin right now. Shambling Vent the draw here for Joseph to go along with those 2 Siege Rhinos. So now he's got to figure out how he wants to navigate here with the Warden, the Deathmist Raptor as well.
And now we've hit this stage of the game where I feel like Keaveny's hand and board much better than Aintrazi's. And, you know, given enough turns, I think Keaveny is a pretty big favorite here. But his hand has no recourse to Ugin. He's just got a bunch of expensive permanents in play. And Aintrazi's going to have a fair amount of time here because he's going to be able to trade a fair bit. He's going to be able to chump block a fair bit. He's going to be scrying a lot as well because of the Catacomb Sifter, and so he's going to get a lot of looks at it.
Now, there's only one Ugin to find, however.
Yeah, there's only one on the list.
There's a Dragonlord Atarka hanging out. That might be okay.
Dragonlord Atarka is, it certainly can't be bad. I'm not positive on its own it's enough to get Aintrazi out of this, and Keaveny can also draw a variety of cards to kill it. Ugin's the real prize here. But I would imagine Aintrazi is shipping everything that's not a dragon, an Ugin, maybe Hangerback Walker to the bottom.
Maybe, yeah. Well, he kept on top with that scry. So we're going to see exactly what he kept here in just a moment as he's untapping. And he's drawing. Jace is going up.
Attention players.
And Dragonlord Jamoka.
Yep. Not the real prize, but still the best thing going on the board.
So now Keaveny's going to have to find an answer to that big flyer. Den Protector will qualify, since that can get back Abzan Charm and Murderous Cut. There's a lot of goodies to be had. Deathmist Raptor into the red zone. Free attack, as it were. Thopter token's going to block. This will allow Aintrazi to scry. Top card very quickly going to the bottom. Joseph would like to take a look at the graveyard, see what's going on down there. As Jace is currently at 3, so he's got to see, well, what can you recast? Radiant Flames, Draconic Roar. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Good cards to keep in mind, but nothing that matters a whole lot on Keaveny's board.
Another Rhino. And now we're going to head back on Aintrazi's way. And Raleigh's top card he put to the bottom with the last scry, so mystery card coming.
And I like Aintrazi there. Jumping with the Thopter rather than the Scion. He's down to 7 lands after the Lumbering Falls traded, so wants to make sure he has 8 mana in play should he find Ugin. Though if he's scrying in his upkeep, then that's off the table.
Yep. Well, it is time to scry in the upkeep. Sacrifices the Scion. Looks like he's going to leave that card on top. Time to draw. Dragonlord Jamoka might be getting a little frisky here.
21-6 though, it's not totally safe attack. The problem with hanging back on defense is Keaveny's got just a lot of removal spells in his deck, so there's no guarantee you get to block. And if Keaveny doesn't
get something out of it.
And if Keaveny doesn't draw a removal spell, he's just not attacking. So this is the only way to guarantee anything.
6-2-11 now. It looks like Aintrazi drew a copy of Abzan Charm. Curious how he wants to use that spell. He's certainly got to figure out how he wants to tap for it. That mana is sensitive. Looks like he wants to draw 2 cards at the expense of 2 life. So down to 9 goes Aintrazi. He'll draw a couple. Siege Rhino is 1. Looks like Flooded Strand is the other.
Does he have white mana? Okay, he does.
Yep. He's sacking that Flooded Strand pretty quickly, so I have to imagine white mana on the way.
Every turn is an adventure with this mana.
Canopy Vista, that's your white. Cinderglade, your green. Sunken Hollow is your black. Touchdown, Aintrazi. Now he's going to go to 11, thanks to the Rhino. And Keaveny going to fall down to 13. Jace is up to 4. It'll slow something down because there's not a lot of great stuff to recast down there. Plains the draw here for Joseph. Not very helpful. He's looking for Den Protector, Abzan Charm, Murderous Cut, Nissa perhaps. Got a lot of big draws available.
Yep. Even Gideon and an Emblem would not be bad here.
No, not at all. There's Sunken Hollow. Oh, the vents are firing up. Joseph might be getting a little aggressive here.
I don't know if he has the requisite colored mana to activate both. I think he needed to potentially play the Plains. No, if he would be short on black mana that way if he didn't play the Sunken Hollow. All right, never mind. He can only activate one.
Yep. Oh, these mana bases.
Price check.
Yep. What can I do? What can't I do? That's the question. Now Keaveny's just trying to figure out if there are any good attacks to be had.
Yeah, what does an Alpha Strike look like here? Always good to check.
Attention players in the Legacy IQ. Your pairings 3 are now going up.
More importantly, this isn't just an Alpha Strike over one turn. I think it's an Alpha Strike over 2 turns.
Yep, because Aintrazi's not going to make a whole lot of inroads on the board here. It's hard for Aintrazi to kill a lot of stuff unless he's willing to take some damage. You can put Siege Rhino in front of Shambling Vent, for example, but then the Siege Rhinos are coming through uncontested on the ground, and that's a lot of points. So.
And even he's quite unsure how he wants to attack here. Looks like he's going to activate the Shambling Vent.
Yeah, he needs to be making attacks here so he's not just swimming upstream against Dragon Lord Jamoka's lifelink trigger. If he's attacking with just the Rock and the Deathmist Raptor, he's not doing a whole lot to impact the life total. And if he's not doing that, then the Alpha Strike the following turn does not get a lot better. So he has to make a push this turn and then do the same thing next turn.
I can certainly appreciate attack here. He's just got to figure out how he wants to do it. And he's got to do it pretty quickly, too.
Also, he wants to be using some of his mana this turn, committing into the Shambling Vent. So next turn, if he draws a spell, he can play that and still attack with a Shambling Vent. But to me, this is an all-or-nothing proposition. The issue, of course, is that depending on how things exactly shake up, I guess Keaveny is going to 15. He's going to gain 2 life here. And Aintrazi is cracking back for 11, and there's a Draconic Roar in the graveyard. So this puts Keaveny up to 15 if everything is clean on the board, and so he's not dead on the way back.
Some blocks will take place here. Keaveny is able to get through what appears to be a relevant amount of damage. Looks like Siege Rhino is going to jump in front of Siege Rhino, but Ali's going to do kind of a dance here, trying to figure out what the best blocks are.
Right, he has the choice here. He can take an extra 2 points of damage here and let one of the Siege Rhinos go through, or he can block a Siege Rhino, save the most amount of life, but not kill one of the Shambling Vents.
It's 15-4 now. Now keep in mind, Catacomb Sifter, when it itself dies, you don't get the scry. It's whenever another creature you control dies. So I think a smart attack there by Joseph. Sitting back's not going to do anything.
Correct.
And it looked like an alpha attack was pretty productive there. So now Aintrazi, he has no cards in his hand. Sure, he's got a Jace down there, but Jace doesn't have much to flash back. So we might even see a situation here where Aintrazi has got to hold steady.
And that's the worst scenario for Aintrazi, because if Keaveny draws nothing, he just doesn't attack. And if he draws a kill spell, you're down the 5 life you would have gotten off of the hit.
Now, not entirely sure what Aintrazi drew for the turn. But you see he's doing some math here on just exactly how he can attack. Looks like Jace is going to tick down to 1. Time to flash back an Abzan Charm.
So at this point, he can either exile Rhino, he can also pump Dragon Lord Dramoka in an effort to turn this into a 2-turn game.
It appears that that's what it's going to be an attempt to do here. Now, this would be an attack for 7.
It's a huge chunk. He gains a lot. He gains a lot of life this way. Goes to 11. And he's looking at 4, 7, 10. Yeah, he would die on the way back, so he's got to hold off for 1 turn at least.
All right, players in the Legacy IQ.
Looks like Plains was the draw.
You have 50 minutes. You may begin.
But I think next turn, assuming that Keaveny has nothing and Aintrazi assumes that the case, by plussing Jace onto a potential attacker, he then has the cushion of life on the table to make an attack with Dragon Lord Dramoka.
This looks like another spot where Death Miss, just gets to attack freely. Death Touch is quite powerful. The question, of course, is it attacking Jace or is it attacking Ali? We'll find out soon enough, because I think that Joe is still deciding.
Well, if you attack Jace, I think Aintrazi says it goes. If you attack Aintrazi, very good chance Siege Rhino's blocking.
Well, it does block. Back to Aintrazi, active Jace and a Dragon Lord Dramoka. I believe just lands in hand. Ali trying to do some math here. Just how much damage can you deal?
Yeah, the problem is by plussing Jace, Joseph goes to 11 points of damage in play with the Shambling Vent, the 2 Rhinos, and the Rock Token. An attack here from Dragon Lord Dramoka gets Aintrazi up to 11. So with no help, Aintrazi can't get it. If he's got anything else going on, he can make a risky attack.
Well, Siege Rhino, I think, was the draw here for Aintrazi.
That's enough for me to, if I'm in Aintrazi's position, to make an attack here.
That's what he's going to do. Now, remember, Dragon Lord Dramoka's text, he doesn't have to worry about anything. No instance or anything like that.
And waiting's just too risky, because if Keaveny draws a way to kill Dragon Lord Dramoka, the whole thing's blown up. So you got to shorten the length of the game.
Here's Siege Rhino. Aintrazi's going to go up to 14. Keaveny's down to 5. All of a sudden, Keaveny's the one that's facing lethal next turn. Jace's going to tick up. The Rock will lose a little bit of power as Keaveny will draw. Again, Dent Protector, probably the best draw on the deck right now. Abzan Charm, Murderous Cut, those will do just fine as well. Didn't get a great look at what Joseph drew, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
Now, there's no flashback available for Aintrazi next turn via Jace. Only 2 loyalties, so we may rock and chunk at least once, but even if Keaveny draws an answer at that point, Aintrazi will have enough life to work with where he's still drawing over the course of several turns. And he's got 8 mana for Ugin, so if that card's ever drawn, he's in great shape.
Plains is the land here for Keaveny.
And if Keaveny has nothing, he's already in a position that he has to leave We Mate Rock back, the token back next turn to not die.
The vents, they're being fired up. The one thing Dragon Lord Dramoka does not have is Trample.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of stuff.
Still lifelink. Aintrazi still gets a lot of life.
Mm-hmm. But no Trample there. We'll see where the attacks are going here once again. You could certainly see an argument for something going towards Jace here.
So I guess the logic here is that he has to chump block with a thing. It doesn't matter what it is. The problem here is, first of all, I think the token is shrunk from Jace. That was the target last turn.
It was, yeah.
And now it means that Keaveny has to take the hit from Jamoka on the jaw.
Oh, he did gain 4 life, so he goes up to 9.
Now he's potentially dead to a variety of things.
Very true. Definitely a risky line there. 7 and 9 are the life totals now. Yep, he takes this right in the face. He takes 7, he falls down to 2. Aintrazi will gain 7 to go up to 14. Jace will slow down. Looks like the Rock. We saw Siege Rhino not attack because there's no point. And back to Keaveny we go. What's the draw?
And now, I believe, even if everything came through clean, Keaveny is sort of lethal.
Here come Rhinos.
And I did not like Aintrazi shrinking the Rock token last turn, because Aintrazi probably has to hold that back to block no matter what happens. So at that point, you want to use the shrinking on one of the Rhinos, one of the things that's good for Keaveny to be attacking with. For example, you shrink a Rhino there, and if Keaveny misses, you can say, all right, I blocked the 4-power Rhino with my Rhino, your 2-power Rhino gets through, and now Jace isn't even dead.
Mm-hmm. It's a morph. Now keep in mind, this is a Death Miss Raptor. It is not a Den Protector. Life would be a lot easier if it was Den Protector.
And, you know, Aintrazi has to know this because he has Dragon Lord Jamoka in play.
Mm-hmm.
So Keaveny would be killing it right now if he could.
Aintrazi with just a land in hand. See what he draws soon enough. Catacomb Sifter. That'll bring an Eldrazi Scion along with it.
Not quite a game winner, but it's still some chump blockers.
Here comes the Rhino. Well, we know the Rock token's going to block because it has to. And now Keaveny is going to unmegamorph his Death Miss Raptor, which will make it into a 4/4, so no trample damage will take place.
And this is why I guess if Aintrazi thinks it's possible, it could be any other morph. You go for an attack and a kill here. But if you're positive it's Death Miss Raptor, then I don't know if there's a ton to be gained by the Siege Rhino attack other than you get to scry 1 right now.
Mm-hmm. Death Miss Raptor will return the other Death Miss Raptor, but the new Death Miss Raptor will come face down. Aintrazi will scry now because the Siege Rhino died. Top card will go to the bottom. Now we head back Keaveny's way. Still plenty of big draws available here for Joseph. Can he find
removal
one?
Spell? And I think it was Abzan Charm.
He's bought himself quite a bit of time. And it was Abzan Charm. What a top deck. That'll take care of Dragon Lord Jamoka for good. Now he's got to be careful with how he attacks, of course. He's only at 2. And it's to the effect now where if I could fire up Shambling Vent, well, I guess Shambling Vent wouldn't actually get to gain life depending on how Aintrazi makes his block, because he can block with the Scion token and then sacrifice it before damage to cancel out the life link.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a block here. Now you're just hoping that no Siege Rhino is off the top of the deck.
Or
oh,
Ugin.
Boy. Well,
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
If he let it on top, I'm sure maybe Dragon Lord Atarka gets left on top in this spot.
Like, whatever it was, he kept on top real fast, and he's already reaching for mana. Dig through time.
Sure,
well,
that'll play too.
That'll play just fine. Couple of redraws towards it here for Aintrazi. Feels almost impossible to miss now. What stranger things have happened. Top 7 here for Ali. He'll take 2 with him. A ding, ding, ding. Siege Rhino, Ugin, the whole shebang.
The gang's all here.
It sure is. Aintrazi will put the 5 cards to the bottom. Dig through time done resolving, and now Siege Rhino will be placed in the stack, and that should take us into game number 2 here in just a moment. As Ali Aintrazi with a timely dig through time, thanks to the help from Catacomb Sifter and all of its scrying, gets him game number 1 here over Joseph Keaveny. 5-color control up a game here over Abzan Megamorph, which means we got to get ready here for game number 2. Take a look at these sideboards, and we will start with Joseph.
2 copies of Evolutionary Leap, 4 Search of Righteousness, 2 Utter End, 2 Duress, 3 Transgress the Mind, and 2 copies of Silk Wrap. I think all the exiling removal here in Transgress the Mind and Utter End, alongside 2 copies of Evolutionary Leap, very solid sideboard for Keaveny. The only issue here is that's a sideboard that promotes a long game, and you see the clock here. We're probably going to be at under 13 minutes by the time people are presenting, and it's going to be hard for Keaveny to win a protracted game, especially given the pace of play of both players.
On the other side of things here for Aintrazi, we got a Treasure Cruise, a Kolaghan's Command, a Salumgar the Drifting Death, 2 copies of Exert Influence, a Sultai Charm, 2 Transgress the Mind, 2 Fiery Impulse, a Murderous Cut, 2 Search of Righteousness, an Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and a Singleton Radiant Purge.
I would take the Radiant Purge in this matchup, the Ugin, the Murderous Cut, the Sultai Charm, the Slumgar, the Treasure Cruise, just all the removal spells and things that help him win an attrition battle.
Those are the options there for your 2 players. And Keaveny will be on the play here for game number 2, though not a lot of time left in the match, as you can see there. So he'll be trying to get to a 3rd draw.
Oh, and anyone out there, you know, there's that eternal community crowd, talks a lot about, oh, games involving creatures, so simple. That was a really complicated game. Yes. And it was all driven by creature combat math, what the life totals looked like. These tough games are not the exclusive domain of people playing with brainstorms and ponders and so forth.
There's a lot of back and forth in that game.
A lot of back and forth.
That is for sure. Well, as these players do get ready here for game number 2, we will talk very quickly about the Star City Games YouTube page, where you can be one of over 80,000 subscribers.
Absolutely. You can head over to youtube.com/Star City Games to get signed up today. A lot of good content up there, both involving the website, like things involving the premium archives and Versus Series videos, things pertaining to the Open Series, like archives of all the Open Series events, and content that's exclusive to the YouTube page, like unboxings. Again, youtube.com/Star City Games. Sign up today for free and get notified every time new content is uploaded to the page.
Ali Aintrazi, the Season 2 Invitational Champion on the Open Series. He'll be at the Players' Championship. We're looking forward to that. Quite a few accomplishments on his resume. 2 Invitational top 8s with 1 W earlier this year. 10 Open Series top 8s with 2 wins. Self-proclaimed best mixtape creator, though you disagree.
It's impossible, age 28. Prime years for mixtape creation, people would currently be about 35 years old. So it's impossible.
He's ahead of his game. Ahead of his time, excuse me.
I want to know if he ever made a mixtape on a cassette tape. That's the real test. If he's done that, he could be part of the conversation. If it's CDs and above, sorry.
Not going to happen.
You're playing the minor leagues.
Professional teddy bear namer and the last United States champion in 2011 before that tournament series was ended, unfortunately. But hopefully one day it will come back.
Yeah, I would love to have it back.
Aintrazi right now at 9-2. Still very much in top 8 contention. We saw him make a pretty deep run last weekend with 5-color Eldrazi. He's moved away from the Eldrazi for the most part. He's stuck with Catacomb Sifter. And now he's gone more towards Dragon Lords.
And Catacomb Sifter seems like a perfect card for Aintrazi. You know, you get a lot of stats distributed among several creatures for the mana. So it helps a lot against aggressive strategies, just a solid blocker. His decks definitely have high leverage draws, so scrying is very valuable for the decks that he produces. And the synergy with Ugin is nice as well. Helps you cast it, leaves something over if you decide to minus Ugin. So makes a lot of sense that Aintrazi will be drawn to this card.
Both players are going to take a look at their opener. We'll be underway here in just a moment, as Keaveny is going to take a mulligan. And it feels like, Pat, we're working our way towards maybe a 1-0-1 win here for Aintrazi.
It's going to be tough. You know, this is a slow matchup. You can see Keaveny here, 2 draws already. Did not play a particularly fast game 1. I don't think anything that would warrant a slow play warning necessarily, but he was taking his time on a lot of decisions. And it's going to be a challenge, I think, for Keaveny to get this inside and now. We're looking probably under 10 minutes by the time this actually starts up. Going to be tough.
Technical difficulties with the Pairings website. So, for the moment, we'll only be posting.
Is he happy with his 6 cards? Nope. Down to 5.
Now it's become doubly challenging.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has. Some players wondering more about our metagame breakdown here. I can give you guys an idea of what else is going on. You've got 4 copies of Esper Dragons, 4 copies of Mardu Midrange, only 3 copies of Red-Green Landfall, and then 3 copies of this Abzan Megamorph deck that Joe is playing. Green-White Eldrazi, you've got 2 copies in the day number 2, and then a lot of Singleton decks, including Blue-Black Control, Abzan Blue, Green-Red Eldrazi, Mardu Blue, only 1 Jeskai Tokens, Abzan Aristocrats. There's a smattering of everything out there. So Joe is happy enough with his 5 cards. He'll scry, of course, thanks to the Vancouver Mulligan rule. Top card will go to the bottom. Shambling Venice, I'll kick things off. A forest here for Aintrazi. Siege Rhino on the draw here for Joe. You see the pace quicken because, well, it has to for both players. Basic forest off of the wooded foothills. And now Hangerback Walker. Aintrazi with a second land. It's a swamp past the turnback. And Keaveny will pass over to Aintrazi, who has a mountain and now a Catacomb Sifter. That'll bring an Eldrazi sign along with it. And Keaveny will take up the Hangerback Walker. Another Catacomb Sifter here for Aintrazi. Another Eldrazi Scion on the way.
And this windswept heath can get a prairie stream.
So life's pretty good.
It's where Aintrazi wants to be.
Yep. There's a forest. Here comes Hangerback Walker. Coming across for 3 points of damage. See if Aintrazi has any interest in blocking.
And I think if Aintrazi's making a block like this, I have to imagine Radiant Flames is the plan.
Feels like that would be in there. 1 Catacomb Sifter gonna bite the dust.
And it looks like Aintrazi triggering his scry, then fetching. So they don't trigger off themselves, but one can trigger off the other.
3 Thopters. Top card gonna go to the bottom. Now there's a Deathmist Raptor. It'll be a pretty nice spot for Radiant Flames, clear everything up. And looks like Aintrazi does have 1 in his hand. Doesn't mean he's have to cast it just yet. He's not underneath that much pressure.
No, this is manageable. He gets a lot of scrying for his trouble, at least.
Going to sacrifice 1 of the Eldrazi sign. Colorless mana floating. Gets the scry. Now I'll do the other. 5 mana.
If you have extra time, please raise your hand and call for a judge. I've played for 5 additional turns.
Good play Dragonlord Dramoka this turn.
You could also exert influence, although that would necessitate sacrificing both of the Scions.
Looks like he's just going to go with Radiant Flames for 3 with 2 colorless mana floating. Now pass the turn back.
Yeah. Aintrazi was going to lose it anyway, so maybe based on what was on the top of his deck, he would find a different line to play.
Canopy Vista was a nice draw there for Joseph. It's land number 4. It enters the battlefield untapped thanks to the 2 basics, and now it's a Siege Rhino. So one could argue maybe the perfect draw there for Keaveny. Aintrazi, however, with a Murderous Cut to take care of the Rhino. Able to delve away the entire graveyard. 1 mana to kill that Rhino as Aintrazi will get to untap now. Picked up a copy of Flooded Strand.
That's the second blue mana, although most of his graveyard is gone now, so dig through time off the table for a little bit.
Wooded Foothills here for Joseph. He'll sacrifice that. Falls down to 21. We'll see what land he wants to search up. Could be a battle land here. And it's a Smoldering Marsh. Death Mist Raptor, excuse me, is the morph. Doing a pretty nice Den Protector impression given how much mana is available right now. Well, Den Protector was the draw. How about that? Here's an attack for 2. Let's make it more than 2. Gonna bring a Death Mist Raptor back. Aintrazi gonna sacrifice that Flooded Strand.
But Aintrazi appears to be floundering a little bit here. I mean, does not have... appears to be much going on.
No, it doesn't. Looks like he's going to get a different land off of this Flooded Strand.
And this might be, on 5 cards in this matchup, maybe a chance for Keaveny to force the draw.
And draw number 3 there for Joseph.
Which is like a 1-2 record. You get a match point for a draw, you get 3 for a win. So 3 draws and a 1-2 record, essentially the same thing.
There's Dragon on Jamoka. However, that thing is dead for multiple reasons. I don't think Keaveny can cast this Murderous Cut fast enough. He's going to start with Duress, get an idea what Ali's working with. You see a Dig Through Time and a Treasure Cruise. He'll take the dig. There's also a Catacomb Sifter and a Dragonlord Jamoka in hand. Now it's time to cut. I'll have to delve away 1 card. This will be a pretty healthy attack here for 7. Aintrazi going to fall down to 4. And with Joseph having another copy of Murderous Cut in the grip,
has to be a sweeper. It can't just be a creature here to block. That's not going to do it.
I love his positioning.
Now, Catacomb Sifter is not shabby here, as it's 2 blockers at least.
There are worse spots to be in.
Modern Human IQ.
Here's Jace, passes turn back. Just want to gum things up a little bit.
Yeah, he can block through this turn. He gets to put some stuff in his graveyard. His Treasure Cruise is on the cheap.
Double block. Now Jace has to block. So there will be some scries that take place here because of the Catacomb Sifter. Number 1. Looks like it'll stay on top, so second scry won't be necessary.
This might be a plan here from Aintrazi here. Can I just buy enough time and find Ugin? Same out that he had the last time.
Here's Dragonlord Jamoka. Show you Murderous Cut. Getting ready for game number 3, which will not be able to finish for obvious reasons here. You see, there's a minute and a half left on the clock. So we got a 3rd draw on the way here for Keaveny and a 1st draw there for Aintrazi. Good match for those guys, but just simply not enough time to finish. That first game took a while.
Yeah, that first game was quite complicated on both sides of the table there. And I thought when Keaveny mulliganed down the 5 there in game number 2 that there was no way that he was going to be able to win in time. It was either going to be an unfinished game or Aintrazi was going to be able to beat him. But Aintrazi there just never got to any really powerful